you, on a daily basis, on a regular basis, find yourself in a meeting or conversation, and there's a certain level of negotiation going on, you think any of these questions, and be honest, because these aren't necessarily selfish questions. Isn't it for me? How important is this? How does this impact me? How important is this? How can I help? Anybody have these kinds of thoughts when you're going through negotiations or discussions? I do, pretty regularly. And because of this, anytime I may be the person who's instigating that conversation, asking for help, trying to negotiate with someone, I take into consideration that there's somebody in the room that I'm talking to who's also thinking of this. It is my responsibility to make sure that I am addressing these questions as I'm talking with them. I have 4 particular steps that I follow through when facilitating a negotiation type discussion that I have found very successful for me. For the context of today's conversation, I want to talk to you about my digital workforce when I advocate on behalf of my robots. So the very first step that I do when negotiating with people, make sure we have a common understanding and we know what we're talking about. What are we talking about? Anybody in here feel that they could tell me successfully what robotic process automation is and how it works? We got it kind of like I've heard of it. Yeah. I assume that this is my audience. Most people, if I've talked to you before, you probably know what it is, but most people maybe have heard of it but don't know what it is. So here's my elevator speech. Robotic process automation is the automation of highly repetitive business activities, simulating that human work, that mouse and keyboard activity on a desktop for a digital worker. Sounds cool, right? All right. So the next thing I need to do is start addressing those people who are like, how important is this? Why should I care? Those folks. And so I start speaking to the benefits and importance of this type of automation. Not on behalf of me, not on behalf of the person I'm talking to, on the behalf of my customer. My customers enjoy things like dollars saved, millions of dollars saved, millions of hours saved, volumes of work processed, soft benefits like speed, improved quality, scary mitigations of risk compliance. If this isn't working, they're going to be sad. So now we understand the importance. We understand what we're talking about. We understand how important it is. So I'm now set up for my ask. I can get in with my ask. This is what I need from you. I tend to have 2 different types of asks. One, I have a sad robot. Something's broken. The nature of automation means that I touch nearly everything in an IT environment. Hardware, software, applications. I could be talking to anybody. Some people I talk to regularly, so they understand what I'm talking about. Others maybe have never heard of me and didn't even know I existed. So I need to explain to them more information about my robot. The most important piece of information in this conversation is data. I need to provide hard data and facts to help them fully understand the problem that we have and the reason for my ask. All the data that supports this discussion helps them understand the problem we need to solve. The second type of negotiation I have on a pretty regular basis that I tend to find the trickiest is with my business customers. They've come to me and said, hey, I have something I want to automate. I'm like, yes, robots. I need to bridge the gap between me being super techie and nerdy and knowing what my robots need to be successful with the business customer who is the expert in the business, how that process works, and how the humans do their activities. It's a big gap. Anybody who's worked in this world knows it's a huge gap to bridge. And so what I do is I make sure I fully listen to them. I actively listen to what their process is and fully understand it and know what is important to them. What is important? And so when I ask them for something, hey, I need to do this, I can associate it to something I know they want, a benefit that they're looking for. I need to make this change. It's going to ensure that your automation is highly stable, rarely going to fail. I need to make this change. It's going to make sure it runs wicked fast so we can process lots of work. I need to make this change So if it does fail, I can communicate to you effectively the way you want so that you can handle that work manually. All right, we have an ask. We're getting to the end. The very last step in negotiation is understanding what we agreed or disagreed on. So it's another layer of negotiation here, but that last opportunity for whomever I'm talking to get in their last thoughts. Hey, we talked about this. This is what we discussed. These are the things that we agreed on. We're pretty solid on this. We have a few more things we need to research, or maybe we're not fully in agreement on. And because of that, we have these takeaways. So the takeaways we have. And so they can go, oh, actually, no, we did agree on that. Yeah. Or no, I do need a little more information. And so we have a little few takeaways, and they can say, yeah, I agree to follow up on those things I said I'd agree on. And that's it, my friends. These are my 4 steps that I go through. Make sure we have a common understanding and understand what we're talking about. Make sure we understand the importance, the benefit that people observe when we have this particular thing that we're talking about, how important it is. I have my ask. So that's what we're looking for. And then finally, I have our agreed upon discussion and our follow-up. These particular steps I have found to be successful in almost every conversation. So while I have applied it to my robot army today, I have found they work in nearly every conversation I have where there's a certain level of negotiation happening. And I hope by sharing this with you today that you find these steps helpful for you when you find yourself in a conversation that requires some level of negotiation.
Please write Elizabeth some little notes here on this paper or through Greg, our hybrid liaison, if you're online.
Yeah, there's the audio on that. If you guys are in the room and you're on Zoom, make sure you, even though you have your mic muted, the audio still looks through. You need to completely disconnect all your audio